Hello, everyone. I hope you're in the mood for mystery. I hope you're in the mood for detectives, for liquor, for guns, and for dames. And as you can see from the chat, I hope you're in the mood for bloody boobs. No, that's not what we're playing right now. We're going to be reading a story, and I can't say for sure that there will not be bloody boobs in this story. I can't guarantee it. I can't guarantee what kind of content there's going to be when we venture for a tooth in Death's mouth. I was about to say a tooth's in Death's mouth. You could probably also make that a title, but it's not the title of this. It's the next Samuel Stonemarrow mystery. You might remember that we did read through one of these a while back, and it was quite a story. I mean, it was quite a fantastic detective mystery, and we are embarking on another one now. We're going to read a little story, we're going to choose our own adventure, and I hope everyone enjoys it. And I figure that if we're going to do this, then we need to set the mood, the same mood that we set last time. Yeah, there we go. Get that rain going. And also, we need to get this going. Yeah. That sounds about right. So, I hope you turn the lights off. I hope you get yourself a flask of scotch. Is that what you drink out of flasks? I don't know. But I hope you get it. And I hope you lean back and put on your fedora and your trench coat as we embark into a tooth. And we have to go into Death's mouth to get the tooth. We can't go in. We can't go in the tooth. We have to go in the mouth. But we're going to get a tooth in Death's mouth. We're going to start. The unhappy man enters your office without knocking and sits down at your desk. He sweats like a honey-glazed ham left floating and forgotten in a hot jacuzzi. I need to hire a private detective, he says. Chat. You need to make the choice. What are we going to say? Are we going to say 1 or 2? Are we going to say 1, I am a private detective? Or are we going to say 2, I'm going to bite your ass into 11 sections? Which do you think Sam Stonemarrow might respond with, chat? Remember, you're role-playing as Sam Stonemarrow. What's the professional response to this man who obviously needs help? Who's in distress, who needs the help of a private investigator. You're going to say that we're going to bite his ass? Well, okay. I guess that's what we're going to be doing. He comes to us for help, and we respond with, I'm going to bite your ass into 11 sections. Normally, the next page would have loaded. It is not. It is... Okay, yes, there we go. The next page loaded. The man starts sobbing because he thinks you're going to bite his ass into 11 sections. He sprints out of your office and slams the door behind him. You spend the rest of the day sitting in your empty office and flipping through magazines looking for pictures of vegetables. Every time you find a picture of a vegetable, you pick up the phone on your desk and say the name of the vegetable. There's no one on the other end of the phone. But you like imagining that you're telling someone about a vegetable. You do this for the rest of your life. Then you go to the bathroom. No mysteries happen to you at all. The end. We've gotten one ending, chat. Music's a little loud. Well, that's fine. We can adjust that. And we can start over. We can begin once again. And for some reason, it's just taking a while to load the next page. Of course, that's going to happen when we're actually live on stream, even if it didn't happen at any other time beforehand, because that's the way streams work. It's the way things go. It's the way love goes, and it's the way that Samuel Stonemarrow goes. As the web browser kind of scrolls very choppily. But okay, we'll deal with that. So we know how this starts, chat. The unhappy man enters. He needs to hire a private detective. We already tried biting his ass into 11 sections. We're going to respond the other way, that we are a private detective. You know, I'm thinking I might just have to close the web browser and reopen it because I don't know why it's taking so long to load the next page. The unhappy man lets out a sigh of relief. Finally, some good news. What's your name, detective? Chat. We have to decide how we're going to respond. 1, 2, or 3. As usual, chat, you're going to make this choice. Do we tell him that our name is Sam Stonemarrow? Do we just demand his name first and then ours? Or do we introduce ourselves as John Problem? Not surprisingly, number 3 is the one that it comes in the lead. It looks like the chat wants Sam Stonemarrow to give this man a wrong name. I don't know why we would introduce ourselves to this man in this way. But it looks like that the chat is going to demand it. And who am I to override the chat? I mean, I could turn the chat off like that. That's actually not what I meant to click. I meant click this. Alright, option number 3. My name is John Problem, the detective who kills people who ask him for help. John Problem, I need your help, says the unhappy man. We only have one choice, as you can see, and that's to kill him. You draw your handgun and shoot the man in the hand. My hand! Screams the man. He falls over and dies. A man asks you for help, and you killed him. That must be why they call you John Problem, the detective who kills people who ask him for help. You've lived up to your name, but you didn't solve any mysteries. Your life is a mixed bag. The end. Chat. We have not solved any mysteries so far. That is not what we're here for. We're here to solve mysteries. So we know that we are going to tell this man that we are a private detective. Now, we're going to try this again, chat. And if you choose number 3 again, we can't go with that. We have to choose either 1 or 2 because we know where number 3 is going to take us. We know number 3 is going to lead to a dead end. It's going to lead to the end. And that's not what we want. It's not what we need. We need to solve a mystery. That's what Sam Stonemarrow lives for. And it looks like number 2 is competing with pizza. Number 1 is on the board. So is number 3. Who is voting for number 3? You already know where number 3 is going to go. And we know where this vote is going to go. It's going to go with number 2. I'm going to turn that off, and we're going to answer with number 2. Now hold on there, pal. You're doing things all out of order. You tell me your name, and then I'll tell you mine. I did click on it. I probably should have just closed the browser and started it again when we started this new game. My name is Dusty Washcloth, says the unhappy man. Chat, we have 2 choices. Okay, technically we have 2 choices. Which one do you want to go with? We can introduce ourselves as Sam Stonemarrow, or we can introduce ourselves as John Problem. The chat looks like... Oh no, number 1. It looks like the chat is actually going to vote for number 1, though there is a strong contingent that wants to introduce ourselves as John Problem again. But it looks like number 1 is actually surprisingly going to win, because I thought number 2 was going to win, and then we were just going to have to start over again. I think that'll be enough for this vote. And we are going to go with option number 1. Okay, that's better. Pleased to meet you, Dusty Washcloth. My name is Sam Stonemarrow. The man nods. With a trembling hand, he raises a highball glass filled with mouthwash to his lips, takes a gulp. He gargles the mouthwash and then spits it out all over your desk. He knocks several papers off of your desk. I gargle with mouthwash when I'm distraught, the man explains. Only one choice, chat. Where did you get the mouthwash? Where did you get it? Where did you get the... Okay. I brought it from home. I never leave my house without a highball glass filled with mouthwash. That way, if I become distraught, I always have something to gargle. Chat, another choice. Do we tell him that's a good plan? Or that it's the only plan? Your choice, chat. It seems like these are pretty similar responses. We're praising Dusty Washcloth either way, with his plan of bringing the mouthwash with him. But we have a choice nonetheless, and it looks like you are going to choose option number 2. We're going to tell Dusty that that is the only plan. I know. Technically another choice, chat. We have the option once again of telling our name. Do we introduce ourselves as Sam Stonemarrow, or do we introduce ourselves as John Problem? You get to choose this again. It's, number 1 is slightly in the lead, but no, number 2 coming up. No, it's quite a race between number 1 and 2. Some people voting for 4, some people voting for pizza, and I'm always down for pizza, but not when there's a mystery to be solved. When there's a mystery to be solved, pizza has to wait till later. The timer is on -1, and that means that the vote must be over, because how could it... What does that mean? We're going to turn the vote off, and we're going to go with number 1. Well, a deal's a deal, Mr. Washcloth. I'll tell you now that my name is Sam Stonemarrow. Mr. Stonemarrow, let me tell you my troubles, says Dusty Washcloth. I work for the Smithsonian Museum of American History. I'm the head of security, which means it's my job to wait until something gets stolen from the museum and then run around screaming. Last night, the museum was robbed, and a specimen was stolen from the Presidential Fossils exhibit. I immediately began running around screaming, for which I was commended. I've since spent the past 3 days bursting into random offices and asking if the people who work there are detectives. Well, you found your detective. Now why don't you tell me what was taken? The unhappy man shudders like a rooster who has seen 2 monsters shaking hands. The item that was taken was none other than Abraham Lincoln's fossilized tooth. You must recover the tooth. It is the only part of Lincoln's body that still exists. Please say you'll take the case, Mr. Stonemarrow. I didn't realize that the story was going to be so historical. I'm pretty sure this all checks out. Mr. Washcloth, your story is very moving. And of course, my softer nature inclines me to assist you. But I'm afraid I can't do anything at all until you clear up one crucial detail. That did not load correctly. It's supposed to load on the image. There you go. And what's that? What's in it for me? Ronald Reagan, of course. What else would be? My employer is willing to offer you a huge and wonderful thing in exchange for the safe return of Lincoln's tooth, says Dusty Washcloth. The Smithsonian recently put a beaver's brain inside Ronald Reagan's corpse as part of the museum's initiative to conduct fucked up experiments that don't help anyone. Now, Reagan's corpse has the mind of a beaver, and he keeps smacking things with his ass in an effort to build a dam while yelling the word remorse over and over again. If you bring us Lincoln's tooth, we will give you Beaver Reagan as your personal secretary. It's quite an offer, isn't it? Well, chat, looks like that you have a choice here. Do we accept, or do we turn it down? I mean, Sam Stonemarrow does have his standards. We have two options in which we can accept the offer, or number 3, in which we refuse the strange offer and insist on our normal fee. It looks like that the chat is saying that Sam is going to insist on his usual fee. The idea of Beaver Reagan just isn't very appealing somehow. So it looks like we're going to go with choice number 3. Sorry, Mr. Washcloth, but my normal fee is that you have to dump a pile of loose cigarettes onto my porch every morning for the rest of my life. I wonder what happened if Dusty Washcloth died first, though. Does that let him out of the deal? I'm not allowed to buy cigarettes because I am only 12 years old. Chat, another choice. Do we tell Dusty to get out of our office, or do we accept the offer of Beaver Reagan? I mean, you have to be compromise. You have to compromise in this line of work, chat. You can't just have everything your own way. Or maybe we turn down the case entirely. Sam Stonemarrow is a complicated man with complicated desires. He desires cigarettes. Does he desire Reagan? I guess that's up to you, chat. It looks like the chat is saying no, that he does not. Because number 1 is winning. Then get the hell out of my office. Dusty Washcloth hangs his head in shame and walks out the door, and he takes his mystery with him. The next day, the front page of the newspaper reads, Pubescent security finally published for inability to... Finally published for inability to buy... Published. Pubescent security finally published for inability to buy cigarettes. You spend the rest of your day calling up the Duracell battery company and asking if you can talk to the batteries. They let you talk to the batteries, and the batteries yell at you. The batteries accuse you of being a pagan. The end. And for right now, chat, I think I'm going to shut down Firefox and bring it back up, because for some reason it's going a lot slower than it should. So give me 1 sec. Okay, hopefully that's going to run better. We're on ending number 3. Let's see if we can do any better this time, chat. Yep, that's moving faster. Okay, we're going to move ahead. We know we have to respond that we're a private detective. We know, well, we want to ask him his name. Then we want to tell him our name is Sam Stonemarrow. Ask him where he got the mouthwash. That's the only plan. My name is Sam Stonemarrow. What was taken? Lincoln's tooth. What's in it for me? Alright, chat. It looks like we're back to the point where we need to make a choice. We know what happens if we insist on the pile of cigarettes. Dusty Washcloth just is not able to supply that, but he can supply Beaver Reagan. What do you think about that, chat? What do you think about Beaver Reagan? Looks like the chat is saying is that number 2 is the choice we're going to make, as if we had a choice to begin with. I've always wondered what it would be like if Reagan became a nauseating beaver man who tried to construct dams using his ass. Haven't we all? What a relief, says Dusty Washcloth. I'm so glad you accepted the case.
You gotta find Lincoln's tooth. I'll be waiting for you at the museum whenever you want to begin your investigation. Goodbye, Mr. Stonemarrow.
Dusty Washcloth takes another large gulp of mouthwash, gargles with it, and spits it directly into your face.
I also gargle with mouthwash when I'm very happy, he explains. When something good happens to me, I spit mouthwash all over the place. I call it wet fireworks.
He stands up and leaves your office. Chat, how do we respond to that? Do we tell him goodbye and that we'll see him the next day, or do we write the words he's leaving on a piece of paper and then throw the paper in the garbage? Looks like we're voting for number 2. That does seem like a very Sam Stonemarrow thing to do. Why are we doing it? Only Sam knows. And he doesn't have to tell you. Solitude passes Dusty Washcloth in the doorway and slips into your office as he exits. It lets itself in. It knows you won't mind, and besides, you're familiar enough with one another to dispense with formalities. You pour yourself a double of Cruel Boys bourbon and light a cigarette. The thick black smoke coats your tongue with a protective layer of sludge and suffocates the dangerous bacteria that live in your lungs. It's healthier than a tomato. The shadows grow long across your floor to announce the sunset, and you close the blinds to choke out the glare. You have no time for windows. Windows are just garage doors for birds, and birds are just distractions that lay eggs. You have no time for distractions, especially now that you have a case. Chat, what do we do? Do we go to the Smithsonian? Or do we dwell on our past? Sam Stonemarrow has quite a lot of past. More than most people do. And just looking at the early vote, it does seem like the chat wants Sam to dwell on his past, as Sam Stonemarrow is wont to do. You think about your past, all your regrets, all the unbearable things you've seen, and all the unbearable things you've done. You sneeze so hard that your pants fall down. Your boxer shorts have pictures of your face wearing a propeller beanie on them. Chat, do we pull up our pants? Or do we stand in the dark, with our pants down, representing our mood, our feelings, which is always down? We can never pull our metaphorical pants up, so shouldn't our physical pants be the same? It reflects who we are inside. It seems that the chat agrees. You choose to bravely stand in the dark with your pants down. You stand this way for a long time. At one point, a man with an easel walks into your office and paints a full-scale oil painting of you standing there with your pants down. When he has finished painting you, he packs up his easel and leaves. You never find out who he is. It seems, chat, that that's enough standing around in the dark. We have to go to the Smithsonian and look for Abraham Lincoln's stolen tooth fossil. You've had it with waiting around. Your policy on solving crime is the same as your policy on drinking bourbon. It's never too early in the day to start. You toss your revolver into your gun pouch and leave your office. You arrive at the Smithsonian Museum. You better go inside and start investigating. As we enter the museum, you step into the lobby of the Smithsonian's Natural Museum of American History. The museum was founded in 1790 when George Washington ordered this enormous building to be constructed so that he could sit in a glass cube with his shirt off and American citizens could come look at him. George Washington spent the majority of his presidency in a glass cube on display in the Smithsonian with no shirt on. He believed it would be educational for Americans to get to see what the president looked like with his shirt off. For a long time, that was the only exhibit. And people came from all over the country to see shirtless George Washington. Since then, The museum has added many new exhibits, but none of them were ever as popular as the shirtless George Washington's dead fish exhibit. We don't have time for this chat, as educational as it is. We have to meet Dusty Washcloth in the Presidential Fossils Wing. On your way through the lobby, you pass the statue of George Washington with his shirt off that the museum had installed after he died, so that Americans could still understand what George Washington looked like with his shirt off, even though he's being tortured eternally in heaven. At the base of the statue is the inscription, "Taking my shirt off is the only thing that ever made me smile," attributed to Washington. Chat, what do we do as we pass by the statue? Do we wave to it? Do we bow to it? Do we not even look at it? Or do we give it a little wink as we walk by? I see the chat have been wondering, did we pull our pants up before we left? He didn't say we did, so we have to assume that they are still down. Just like our spirits. Just like our spirits. And it does seem like the chat is going to decide to vote for 4. They are going to vote to wink at the statue as we walk by. You wink at the statue of shirtless George Washington, and you're immediately confronted by 2 Navy SEALs who tell you that it's absolutely forbidden to wink at the statues. They've taken the vow of silence that all Navy SEALs take when they join, so they have to hold a sign with the message written on it. It is the sacred duty of Navy SEALs to guard statues of U.S. presidents in museums around the world and make sure that nobody winks at them. Chat, what do you want to do? How do you want to respond to the Navy SEALs? They're just doing their job, making sure no one winks at these statues. I mean, obviously, we made a severe faux pas, a severe breach of protocol in winking at the statue of George Washington, who is being tortured eternally in heaven, as we know. Looks like the chat is saying that we're going to go with number 2. I see that you are upholding the official Navy SEAL motto. It takes 2 Navy SEALs to hold a single sign. Thank you for protecting our statues from people winking at them. You should always thank the men and women in uniform whenever you see them. Thank them for their service. You leave the Navy SEALs and enter the Presidential Fossils exhibit. This is a famous wing of the Smithsonian where all the fossilized bones of America's old presidents are tossed into a big pile in the middle of the room for people to look at. All the president's bones are mixed together for the convenience of viewing. Well, this is where we need to be, I guess. So we're going to wait for Dusty Washcloth to arrive, and we'll see what we need to do after that. You look at the bones. It's a whole big salad of the best and worst presidents together. It's very educational. Suddenly you hear a voice behind you. Can I help you? Chat, how do you want to respond to this voice? This strangely jolly voice. Who it belongs to, I don't know. But how do we respond? Do we turn around? Or do we rotate our head 180 degrees? What would Sam Stonemarrow do, chat? Remember, you're role-playing as him. Looks like the chat thinks that Sam Stonemarrow would rotate his head 180 degrees. It's a rare talent. You rotate your head 180 degrees such that your head is facing backwards on your body. The woman who is standing behind you now looks at you in horror. What on earth is wrong with you? She screams. You're a monster! Chat, how do we respond to this woman who is rightly alarmed by our act of turning our head 180 degrees around? You don't see that every day, and she is quite frightened at the sight. Do we say that she should not be alarmed, or that she should not be afraid? Or do we invite her to look at us in our unnatural horror? Or do we ask her for help because we don't know why we turned our head around? Well, it looks like number 3 is winning. Number 1 is pretty close behind, but it does look like number 3 is going to take it. With some people, not many, but some people, craving pizza. But now is not the time for pizza. Now is not the time for pizza. At all. Hello, lady. Look at me in all my unnatural horror. I am an affront to God's design, and you know what? That makes me feel happy. And hungry. Stay away from me! Screams the woman. She presses a button on the wall. Beneath the button is a placard that reads, "Press in case of fire," or "Terrible monster." A loud alarm starts blaring throughout the museum. A voice comes over the intercom and says, let's see, what does it say? It says,
Warning! The museum is either on fire or under attack from some hideous monster that can swivel its head around. Please run screaming from the museum as fast as you can. Kill anyone who is running slower than you.
Everyone in the museum starts screaming and sprinting towards the exits as fast as they can. People rip each other to pieces in their insane scramble to escape. People throw themselves from windows or run straight through the walls just to get away from you. Chaos and carnage rule the day at the National Museum of American History. Chat, 2 choices to make. Do we remember that we're just going to turn around the normal way from now on? Or do we think that maybe turning our head 180 degrees is the only way to do it? That's a tough choice, chat. That's like a life choice that you're being asked to make right now. How are we going to handle this sort of thing for the rest of Sam Stonemarrow's life? Well, it looks like it's not much of a choice for the chat, because they're going for option number 2. We're going to say that we're going to make a mental note that rotating our head 180 degrees is truly amazing. Perhaps the only good way to look at something that's behind you. Uh-oh. You decide to learn nothing from this whole fiasco, and choose instead to spend the rest of your life always rotating your head around on your neck like a furious gyroscope. But sadly, it looks like you may never get the chance, because the alarm has attracted Sensei Randall's intermediate karate squadron. These kids have studied karate under Sensei Randall for at least 6 months, and now they wander the world, administering vigilante justice.
We are here to use the sacred teachings of Sensei Randall to kill the backwards-headed monster terrorizing the museum,
shouts Dale Oaks, a 15-year-old blue belt from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Or was that Missouri? I think MI is Michigan, right? I should know that, because I'm in the U.S. I'm in, like, the East Coast, though, so I don't have to remember anything else that's not on the East Coast. It's how that works. You have to vote now, chat. How do we respond? It looks like we're going to respond with number 1. We're going to fight the Sensei Randall's intermediate karate squadron, because what other choice do we have? What else would Sam Stonemarrow do? With our fascinating 180-degree head turn ability, we can take him. You try to fight off Sensei Randall's intermediate karate squadron. Sadly, Sensei Randall's motto is,
"The only thing in karate is karate chops."
So that's all he teaches his students, day in and day out, for years. As a result, these kids are extremely bad at almost all of karate, but they're extremely good at karate chops. You're simply no match for their karate chop skills, and they karate chop you in the legs until you die. The next day, the front page of the paper reads, "Monster plaguing museums killed by children who still need to get better at karate." The end. We'll chat. That is ending number 4, and it doesn't look like there's a checkpoint, so we are starting over from the beginning. And we are just going to try to quickly get back to where we were. Have to remember what choices we made. We should be able to get back there pretty quickly. We did accept the offer of Reagan. We dwelt on the past. We stood in the dark with our pants down. We went to the museum. We entered the museum. We went to meet Dusty Washcloth. Oh, chat, do you want another shot at the statue? How do you want to treat the statue this time round? We winked at it last time, but maybe that was not what we really should do. Maybe we should think about treating the statue differently. What do you think about that, chat? What do you think? Some people still, well, only one person still wants to wink at the statue. Most people want to go with number 3. Don't even look at it. So I guess that's what we're gonna do. Yeah, we're going to the bones. We're gonna wait for Dusty. Well, we already tried rotating our head 180 degrees. Maybe this time we should just turn around. You turn around and find yourself looking into a pair of eyes so dark and deep, you could hide a bag of stolen sneakers inside of them for 1,000 years without anyone ever finding them.
My name is Eileen Osiris, says the voice that belongs to those eyes. I'm the curator of the Smithsonian Museum. A museum curator is someone who thinks about old treasures and decides which ones are good to look at and which ones belong at the bottom of the ocean. I am the queen of the past.
Chat, how do we introduce ourselves to Miss Eileen Osiris? Do we let out a hubba hubba, a morose hubba hubba? Or do we just give her our name? How do we want to treat Miss Osiris? Looks like the chat is saying that we're going to go with number 1. Yeah, I think that it's pretty overwhelming. We're going to go with number 1. We politely shriek, hubba hubba. You politely shriek, hubba hubba.
You're very polite,
says the dame with the eyes.
What's your name?
My name's Stonemarrow. I'm a private detective.
You got a first name, Detective Stonemarrow?
Yeah, it's Sam. But only my friends call me Sam.
It's nice to meet you, Sam, says Eileen Osiris. You must be here to help us figure out what happened to our stolen Abraham Lincoln tooth. Is there anything I can do to help?
Chat. 4 choices. We can say that we're supposed to meet Washcloth. We can also say that we demand to be brought the man named Washcloth. We can say that we're Gaga for Washcloth, or we can say that we're a Washcloth boy and we need to look at him. All 4 choices demand Washcloth, but how eager are we to bask in the presence of Washcloth? 3 and 4, kind of in a tie. Chat's not really sure whether we want to go with 3 or 4, but it does look like number 4 is coming out on top. Does indeed seem that we are a Washcloth boy, and we need to look at him.
I'm sorry, Sam, says Eileen Osiris, but Dusty Washcloth has gone missing. He left work yesterday to go to City Hall to use the city's only toilet, but he never came back. And after that, he was murdered. His body was found at the city's only toilet. Someone shot him in his essential lemon, which is the most important part of the body. I'm very worried about him because I don't know where he is and because he was murdered.
Chat. 2 choices. How do you want to respond to this shocking news? Finding out about the death of Dusty Washcloth. We knew him so well. We go back so far with him. And yet, like tears in rain. Looks like the chat is saying that we're probably, well, no, it's pretty even now. 1 and 2 going back and forth. Which one will the chat decide on? This is the most even vote so far. Sam Stonemarrow, not entirely sure how he should be responding to this shocking news. He's standing there, thinking about it, going back and forth in his mind about which option, which choice is the correct choice. The Sam Stonemarrow choice. And it's very even, but it does look like it is going to be number 2. Often I have said to myself, the city needs more than one toilet, and yet our mayor restricts us to a single toilet at City Hall. This is a bad place to live.
The fact that we only have one toilet is both this city's crowning achievement and its greatest curse, says Eileen Osiris. Sam, will you do me a favor?
Chat, 3 choices. I mean, they're all kind of affirmative, but I guess it differs in enthusiasm. Which one here are we going to pick? Looks like the chat is saying that they want to go with number 3. Why not? That does sound like something Sam Stonemarrow might say. I'll do whatever. I have no plans for the next 15 years.
Please find out what happened to the stolen tooth of Abraham Lincoln. It's what Dusty Washcloth would have wanted.
Chat. Another choice. Already. Choice is coming. Fast and Furious. How do you want to respond to this? It looks like we're probably going to go with number 2. It seems. I'll do it. If it's what Dusty Washcloth would have wanted. You step out of the museum and into the wet embrace of the city. The sprawling metropolis is noisy and beautiful, like a screaming warthog wearing a pearl necklace. Avenues and alleyways spider out across the sprawl, insinuating a Sodom's worth of sin around every shadowy corner. But you and these streets ran each other ragged long ago, and you've sucked their mystery dry. You know the answers to all their riddles, and all the punchlines to all their jokes. And you know that, for all of the illusion of infinite paths, when something goes missing that needs finding, a man who truly knows this city has only one solitary, inescapable destination. Tugboat's Pub. Ah yes, Tugboat's Pub, the seediest saloon in the whole damn harbor. That's right, Tugboat's Pub, the seediest saloon in the whole damn harbor. The joint draws in crowds for its gin and exotic birds from far-off lands that quote the Bible, but it draws in loners for its illicit dealings and unseemly hearsay. Forget the booze. Tugboat's most valuable commodity is its surplus of lowlives who keep their ears to the ground. When a crime gets committed in this city, one of the venerable dirtbags at Tugboats hears about it, so long as they weren't the perp in the first place. You better get down there and start asking around about Abe Lincoln's stolen tooth. So we're going to make tracks to Tugboat's Pub. You arrive at the harbor and proceed to Tugboat's Pub. You slink along the boardwalk and find yourself standing outside of Tugboat's Pub. From inside, you hear the sounds of miscellaneous debauchery and a frantic piano playing the popular harbor anthem, "The only good place to get vaccinated is the open ocean." We're gonna go inside. You enter Tugboat's Pub. The smell of stale booze rushes you at the door like it wants to take your coat. The full index of Encyclopedia of Scoundrels is here tonight, and you're sure that one of their sticky fingers can point you in the right direction. Where would you like to begin your investigation? Chat? They're asking you. Where do you want to begin your investigation? Do we investigate the bar? Or do we want to investigate the VIP lounge? As you know, seedy dive bars all have VIP lounges. It's expected. Looks like the chat is saying that we're going to go with number 2. We're going to investigate the VIP lounge. You walk to the back of the bar where the VIP lounge lives. The VIP lounge is extremely exclusive. It's where some of the most glamorous and famous criminals go to pay exotic birds to quote the Bible while they think about bootlegging things. You try to enter, but a bouncer stops you at the door. Let's see, the bouncer stops you at the door.
Hold up, doofus. This is a restricted area. If you're not on my list, I need to send you to the rejection lounge.
Chat, how do you want to respond to this? We're going to have to try to smooth talk our way past this bouncer, because we're not on the list. So what do we have to say? How do we respond? What would Sam Stonemarrow do in a case like this? Looks like the chat is saying that Sam Stonemarrow would probably answer with number 2. Pal, you might as well just send me to that nasty lounge, because the only lists I've been on my life is on America's 100 Most Permanent Scowls.
Well, then I have no choice but to send you to the rejection lounge, buddy, says the bouncer.
Chat, we have another choice already. These choices coming fast and furious. Do we accept the response? Do we accept the decision that we're going to the rejection lounge? Or will we request to smoke last? I don't know why we are smoking one last cigarette, because we are not going to die. But we can ask to smoke one last cigarette. And it looks like the chat is saying that is what we're going to do. Do me a favor, pal. Before you send me to the rejection lounge, will you let me smoke one last cigarette?
All right, says the bouncer. But once your billow stick is ashed out, I'm going to do revenge nearby to your lungs so as to cause you troubles.
This voice seems strangely appropriate for this. I don't know. I didn't expect it to be that appropriate for that dialogue. We reach into our pocket and light up a cigarette. With the kind of hero's hand that has never been sweaty, you pull a Plume Spouter Ultra Premium cigarette out of your pocket and light it up. The 9 essential nutritious fumes contained in cigarette smoke choke your brain in the healing fog of wisdom, and now you can think clearly. A plan slides silently into your mind like a thief into an art gallery. You're ready to take action. Hey, pal, I've got one cigarette left. It's not going to be of much use to me. He didn't threaten to kill us. It's not going to be of much use to me in the afterlife. Would you like it?
Yeah, give it to me,
says the bouncer. Chat. We can either give him the cigarette, or we can just mention that this is part of our plan to destroy him while we give the cigarette. So, 2 completely different choices, and maybe these will have different outcomes to our dastardly plan. Who can say? I cannot say. Looks like the chat is saying they know what to say. They are saying number 2, and they are saying, this is part of my plan to destroy you. And we give the bouncer our cigarette.
I don't care about that,
says the bouncer. He lights up the cigarette and starts yawning down its beautiful fumes. Chat, another choice. 4 choices. A quad choiso is what they call these. They're rare. You don't see them too often. Which of these are you going to go with? You have quite a choice on your hands, chat. 4 choices, to be exact. Which one will you choose of the 4? It's your choice, your decision. It looks like most of the chat is going for number 4. But it is pretty broken up. Number 3 could have won. But no, actually, it's nowhere close. It's number 4. It is number 4. Oh, my sweet and bonkers Christ. Can you possibly believe it? 2 men have become what the ancient Greeks called twins of the plume. And what I mean by that is that 2 men are smoking cigarettes at the exact same time. Come look at this miracle. As soon as you scream this, A swarm of paparazzi immediately bursts into Tugboat's pub and surrounds you and the bouncer.
I cannot believe the miracle of two at once!
Yells one of the paparazzo, snapping your picture from as many angles as he can.
2 men, 2 cigarettes, 1 moment in time. A miracle I thought I'd never live to see.
Yells another paparazzo. I don't have too many voices.
I heard of 1 man smoking a cigarette, but 2 men smoking a cigarette is the beautiful type of miracle that makes me insane.
Yells a third paparazzo. The paparazzi create complete chaos all around you. Everyone wants a shot of the 2 men smoking the same type of thing at the exact same time. Some of them kill each other.
Stop it!
The bouncer screams, "Everyone calm down!" But no one listens to him. The flashbulb rules the day, and in the complete mayhem, you are free to escape. Chat, 2 choices. Do we sneak past the bouncer into the VIP lounge? Or do we wait for the chaos to die down so that the bouncer can kill us? It seems that the bouncer killing us would not help us find Lincoln's Tooth. That's just a guess, though. I could be wrong. Still, there is some difference of opinion in the chat. It looks like number 1 is going to win. But number 2, not that far behind. Not that far. Still, I think it's pretty safe to say that number 1 is taking this. So, we're going to sneak past the bouncer into the VIP lounge. You sneak past the bouncer and enter the VIP lounge. The air of this room is thick with incense and sin. Eddies of cigar smoke ring wavy halos around dim, red-tinted lights. The sole occupant of this sauna of mischief is a man sitting in a velvet chair.
Hello,
says the man.
I'm thinking about bootlegging various things, such as counterfeit moccasins and fake raisins.
Who are you?
Pardon me, but I am big excuse me,
says the man.
I'm a gangster who loves to bootleg things. Is there something I can help you with? I came here to the VIP lounge to watch a bird quote the Bible, and I don't have any patience for distractions.
Chat. How do we respond? I mean, we can pay for another round of birds. Or we can just get to business and ask him about a certain tooth. Which do you think we're going to go with? Which would Sam Stonemarrow go with? Looks like the chat is saying that we need to ingratiate ourselves with big excuse me. And we're going to do that by paying for another round of birds. Well, let me pay for another round of birds quoting the Bible for you, friend. And then we'll talk business.
I've never been one to say no to a gift,
says Big Excuse Me.
I'd be much obliged.
We're gonna buy Big Excuse Me a round of birds, to quote the Bible. You throw $1 onto the floor of the VIP lounge. A hatch in the wall opens up, and the most beautiful exotic bird you've ever seen struts out of it. The bird eats your money off the ground and then begins reciting the following Bible passage. And then God spake to Moses and said, Moses, behold, I will give you a brand new type of vegetable called a fish. And a single fish fell from heaven and began flipping around on the ground and spraying its eggs all over the desert. And the eggs got eaten by scorpions. And Moses said unto the Lord, I know all about fish, my Lord. They have been around for a long time. And the Lord said to Moses, No, a fish is a new thing from just now. I had the idea to invent this amazing new vegetable called the fish earlier today, while I was rolling around on the ground in heaven. And Moses said unto the Lord, God, it is very exhausting to be your friend. Exodus 9:15. Only one thing we can do, chat. We can applaud for the exotic bird. We applaud for the exotic bird. Big excuse me is also applauding.
I love it when a bird tells me the Bible.
Says big excuse me.
It's the only thing I like.
Chat. Did we talk about the tooth? Or do we feed the bird another $1? It seems like big excuse me cannot get enough of these exotic birds. Extremely exotic birds that we've never seen before. Quoting the Bible. It looks like the chat is saying number 2. We're going to feed the bird another Bible, another $1, so that it will quote another Bible verse. I don't know what would happen if we tried to feed it another Bible. Could it eat an entire Bible? I don't know about that, chat. I don't know about that. You throw another $1 onto the ground. The beautiful bird eats the $1 off of the floor, looks you right in the eye, and quotes the following Bible verse. And God said unto Moses, Moses, let me tell you what's what. Every night I sit on the toilet to do the Lord's piss, and while I am sitting there doing the Lord's piss, the devil climbs up into heaven with his long golden hair, and he squats down in front of the toilet like a baseball catcher, and I brush Satan's hair while I go to the bathroom. And Moses said unto the Lord, O Lord, it sucks to know about this. And the Lord said to Moses, Go and tell the children of Israel that God brushes Satan's hair while he sits on the toilet. And Moses said, I don't want to tell them that. It will make them upset. And God became wrathful at Moses' disobedience and decided to punish him. And so God sent a gorilla to come out of the desert and eat Moses' sandals. And Moses said to God, Oh, great job, God. Those were my only sandals. Exodus 9:15. Once again, chat, we are applauding for this extremely exotic bird. Once again, you clap your hands for the mysterious bird who comes from far away. Big excuse me has got a smile spread across his face wide enough to bridge a canal.
Just wonderful,
says the vicious gangster. Chat, you know what it is you have to do. You know what choice you have to make. Do we get down to business? Or do we keep listening to Bible verses and spending dollars? I don't know how many dollars we have. Do we only have a few? Do we have all of the dollars in the world? I couldn't say. Maybe Sam Stonemarrow could. But it looks like the chat is saying that we're going to go with number 2. We are going to feed another $1 to the bird, so it will give us another Bible verse. You throw a third $1 onto the ground. The beautiful bird eats the $1 off of the floor, looks you right in the eye, and quotes the following Bible verse. And God said to Moses, Watch this. And the Lord made a Trans Am fall out of the sky and crash onto the ground, and there was a man in the Trans Am, and the man in the Trans Am got out of the car and showed Moses his ass. And Moses said, O Lord, every day you find dazzling new ways to hinder me with your bullshit. And the Lord said, Thank you. And Moses said, It wasn't a compliment. And the Lord said, Let's see that again in slow motion. And God made another Trans Am fall out of the sky at the exact same speed as before, but this time it fell through the roof of Moses' house, and the guy in the new Trans Am that the Lord sent from heaven got out of the Trans Am, and he too showed Moses his ass. Then both Trans Am guys went inside of Moses' house and drank all of the wine they found there. And Moses said, Who is going to pay me back for all of this wine? And God said, Moses will pay you back. And Moses said, I am Moses. And God said, well, then I guess nobody. Exodus 9:27. Once again, chat. We are applauding the exotic bird. You once again burst into applause for the exotic bird.
Each time is more beautiful than the last.
Sighs Big Excuse Me. Chat. We have another choice to make. It's the same choice. Chat, what choice are we making? Starting to cough a little bit. Which choice are we making, chat? We are making choice number 2 again. We are making choice number 2 again. We are going to feed the bird another $1, so it will quote another Bible verse. You throw another $1 bill on the ground. The exotic bird eats it off the floor, then dies from eating way too much money. It's incredibly unhealthy for a bird to even eat $1, and you fed it $4. It got poisoned, and its stomach exploded at the same time. It will never quote the Bible again. Well, that's a real bummer. Anyway, what do you know about this presidential tooth that was stolen from the Smithsonian Museum?
After all this generous gift of bird that you have given me, I can tell you are a friend,
says Big Excuse Me.
and so I will play ball. In the bootlegging industry, we have a common saying, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. It means that when someone rips out one of their eyes and hands it to you, it is polite to rip out one of your own eyes and give it to them. And when a stranger tells you about the location of a hidden tooth, then it is polite to tell them the location of a hidden tooth that you know about in return.
Chat, how do you want to respond to that? What is he getting at? Or do we think this deal sounds fair? I mean, we don't know the location of a hidden tooth, I don't think. But Big Excuse Me seems to think that we need to give up one location for another, and it looks like that the chat agrees. That seems fair.
It is incredibly fair. We bootleggers have a deep and extremely dated sense of justice. So here's the deal. I know where the stolen tooth of Abraham Lincoln is. I will tell you its location if you first tell me the location of a secret tooth that you know about.
Chat, 3 choices. What are we going to do with this? Because we don't know about any of these things now, do we? Do we know about a tooth under a bench? Do we know about a tooth in a parking lot? Do we know about a tooth that a man is sitting on at the mall? Because I can't think of any of these things. But it looks like the chat is saying that we know about number 3. We know, apparently, about a tooth that a man is sitting on at the mall.
How wonderful,
says Big Excuse Me.
I cannot wait to go look at that secret tooth. Now I will tell you this. The tooth you are looking for has found its way into the hands of a man named Julius Tube.
Chat, how do we respond to this? We have 2 choices. Which one do you want to choose? It seems pretty obvious which one we're going to choose. Am I Julius Tube?
No, you are the tight-lipped stranger who is my friend.
Chat, no, I just appreciate it. You don't need to get me a beer. I will struggle through this until we get to an ending. Who is Julius Tube?
Julius Tube is the co-owner of the Grand Matador Cinema. It's the big movie theater downtown that people don't really go to anymore.
So apparently this is the man who has taken the tooth for some reason, chat, but now that we know that, how do we respond to... I can't remember his name anymore, Big something. We can ask who the other owner is, or we can ask why this person would want the fossilized tooth of Abraham Lincoln. It looks like that the chat is saying that we are going to respond with number 1. You say he's the co-owner of the movie theater. Who's the other owner?
I don't know who it is.
Big excuse me, that was his name.
I only know that Julius Tube was recently invited to the San Diego Zoo because the zookeeper wanted to show all the animals an example of a man who co-owned a movie theater. From this, we must conclude that at least one other person has a stake in that theater.
It's a beautiful story about zoo animals.
Indeed it is,
says Big Excuse Me.
Do you have any other questions?
Chat. 3 choices. We can ask about the other owner. We already asked about that. We could also ask what the owner of a movie theater would want with the fossilized tooth of Abraham Lincoln. Or we could say that we're out of questions and that we are going to pay Julius Tube a visit. Looks like the chat is saying that we're going to go with number 2, which is wise. We should get all the information we can out of Big Excuse Me while we're here. What would the co-owner of a movie theater want with the fossilized tooth of Abraham Lincoln?
The Grand Matador Cinema has recently fallen on hard times after they showed a screening of Gone with the Wind, where each of the characters was somehow 250 pounds heavier for some reason. This caused great outrage, and very few people still go to the Grand Matador anymore. It's possible that Julius wanted to sell that stolen tooth for a king's ransom to save his failing movie theater.
That's a heartbreaking story about a movie where everyone was heavier than normal.
Indeed it is,
says Big Excuse Me.
Do you have any other questions?
Well, it looks like we only have one choice that we haven't made yet, chat. And that is to tell him that we are all out of questions. Right now, I'm in the market for answers. I think it's time that I went and paid this Julius Tube character a visit. You start walking out of the VIP lounge, leaving Big Excuse Me all alone with his vices.
Pardon me?
Big Excuse Me calls after you as you are about to make your exit.
Oh, wait just a minute, detective.
Chat. Apparently we are going to look at Big Excuse Me. How exactly do we do that? What motion or what pose do we make to look back at Big Excuse Me? It does look like we are going to go with number 2. As only Sam Stonemarrow would. We're going to bend over and look at Big Excuse Me through our legs. That's a nice touch. You bend over and look at Big Excuse through your legs. The esteemed bootlegger continues to speak.
You've been a good friend to me, he says. So why don't we forget about that missing tooth of yours and join my bootlegging business? I'm about to create a counterfeit moon and profit by charging an entrance fee to the astronauts that land on it by accident.
It's hard to make it through that one. Sorry, Big Excuse Me. I said I would find that tooth, and when a detective says a thing, they've got to do it. It's the only rule about being a detective. You leave Big Excuse Me alone with his problems and step outside into the street. The empty night is desperate for company, and it welcomes you with a dark embrace. The sound of 2 criminals arguing about which one of them likes arson the most echoes through the evening. Your head is fat with new information, and you're ready to continue your investigation. We're going to go to the Grand Matador Cinema and confront Julius Tube about the stolen tooth. As you walk through the darkness to the Grand Matador Cinema, you're stopped in your tracks by the form of a man draped in shadow. He's wearing a detective hat, so you know that he is a private eye like you. Chat, how do we greet this fellow detective? We know he's a fellow detective because of the hat. Only detectives wear that hat. Is it a friendly detective, or is it a hostile detective? He is holding a gun. He doesn't have it in his gun pouch. It looks like the chat is saying that we are going to go with number 1. Who are you? Explain your identity into my mind. My name is John Problem, the detective who kills people who ask him for help, says the shadowy figure. I just wanted to let you know that I'm also looking for the missing tooth. We're both in this together, detective. Chat, how do we respond to John Problem, the detective who kills people who ask him for help? We could say that we understand, or we could ask him for help. How do we want to respond to him, chat? You've heard so much about John Problem at this point. Number 1 and 2, pretty even. Number 2 starting to go into the lead. Number 2 has taken the lead. It looks like that the chat is saying that they want to ask John Problem, the detective who kills people who ask him for help. Though the vote is not over yet, and it is very close. Still, the pie chart has stopped moving, and it does seem that we are going to go with number 2. You're looking for the tooth as well? That's great. We could team up and look for it together. What do you say? Will you help me? John Problem immediately punches you in the leg, which causes your head to burst into flames. The heat from the fire causes your brain to melt, and since the brain is the part of your body that controls your legs immediately start flailing all over the place like an electrocuted rag doll. One of your wildly flailing legs kicks you in the head, which causes you to die. Well, you asked for help from John Problem, the detective who kills people who ask him for help, and he killed you right away. This makes a lot of sense, and it's comforting to know that there are some reliable rules in a world largely governed by chaos. The next day, the front page of the newspaper reads, "Forgettable detective dies by getting kicked in the head, and then dies a second time from his head also being on fire." The article features a full-color photo of your parents, shrugging in front of your grave. The end. Well, chat, we're going to add that on. We got 5 endings. And I am also going to step away for a couple minutes just so I can drink some water and clear my throat, and hopefully don't start going into a coughing fit when I come back. So I'll be just back in a couple endings. See you in a little bit. Well, everyone, I hope you had a nice little break. And I hope that after clearing my throat, drinking some water, hopefully I can continue on without dying. We'll try to do that. Try to get a handle on that. And we're going to restart from the checkpoint. The checkpoint is after we leave the club. So fortunately, it's not too far away. Bird Robot, Sam Stonemarrow's pants are still down around his ankles. It's true. It never did say that he picked them back up, so as far as we know, he didn't. Well, once again, we're encountering John Problem. Let's see what happens if we say howdy, fellow detective. Does anything different happen? Not really. Well, we already know what happens if we ask for help, so we're just going to say that we understand. I'm going to keep looking for that tooth. I suggest you do the same, says John Problem, the detective who kills people who ask him for help. Keep an eye out for me, detective. I might just pop up where you least expect it. Until then, so long. John Problem turns and walks down the darkened street. You can see his detective hat disappear and reappear in rapid succession as he walks beneath a row of streetlights. And then he is gone, around the corner. Chat. We have a choice, but it doesn't seem like really much of a choice. We can shrug and continue walking to the Grand Matador Cinema, or we can mumble, now ain't that just some kind of a thing, and continue walking to the Grand Matador Cinema. I guess we're probably going to go with number 2. That seems right. You arrive at the Grand Matador Cinema. Tonight's film is called The Hog Brothers Run Over a Benevolent King. It is a film adaptation of the classic stage play of the same title. Go inside and buy a ticket. You walk up to the box office, and your eyes are on fire with unbridled ticket lust. Your mind is swallowed by your unquenchable desire for tickets. Let's see.
Hello? Welcome to the box office, home of tickets,
says the man in the box office.
How can I satisfy your ticket lust this evening?
Chat. How do you want to respond? 3 choices. Do we need 1 tickets to the Hog Brothers? Do we need 1,000 tickets to the Hog Brothers? Or every ticket to every movie? I don't know if we have that kind of money on us, but it is an option. Chat is torn between options number 2 and 3. Not so much for number 1. Bird Robot, it's like I'm trying to come up with a voice that's even harder on my throat. I have a bad habit of doing that. Bad habit of trying to do voices that require me to get the phlegm up in the back of the throat, which is what causes the coughs. It looks like we're going with number 3. Jesus Christ. Give me every ticket to every movie. I'm wild with ticket lust.
I'm afraid we're only showing 1 movie at this time,
says the man in the box office. It's the Hog Brothers Run Over a Benevolent King. Oh no, he's still talking.
It's the Hog Brothers Run Over a Benevolent King. Furthermore, I'm afraid that we only have 1,000 tickets to that show.
Christ. Okay, well, give me all 1,000 tickets 2 times.
Excellent choice, sir,
says the man at the box office.
Here you go.
He hands you a wad of 1,000 tickets. Then you hand the tickets back to him.
Here you go,
says the man at the box office. He hands you the wad of 1,000 tickets again. Chat. How do you want to respond to this? Has our ticket lust been fulfilled? Or has it not? How many tickets does Sam Stonemarrow need before his lust can be sated? It looks like the chat is saying that his ticket lust is unfulfilled. Well, if that's the way it has to be, then that's the way it has to be. Alas, my ticket lust is unfulfilled. Someday my ticket lust will drive me mad. Goodbye, ticket man. You step into the lobby of the Grand Matador Cinema. This place is full of tortured souls ogling the popcorn and silently hoping that the flickering glow of a projector is too scant a light source for their troubles to find them by. A mother and her 2 children walk by you, talking about bullshit and such. Chat, do we eavesdrop on the family, or do we ignore them? We're talking about this family up here, like them. Do we eavesdrop on them, or do we ignore them? They don't seem like they have anything to do with the story, but we can eavesdrop on them, and it seems like it's a unanimous choice Everyone's voting number 1. No, it's no longer unanimous. How dare you, Smebble, voting for number 2, breaking the unanimous vote. But regardless, we are going to eavesdrop on the passing family.
Mommy, when puberty comes to poison my body and I start to grow a thick mustache, can I throw my mustache to the legendary baseball player Joe DiMaggio?
Asked the little boy. You can try, my son, says his mother. But make sure you fill your mustache with plenty of walnuts and crickets, so that when you show your mustache to Joe DiMaggio, he can reach into your mustache and pull out a handful of crickets and walnuts to eat as a snack. Chat, this is an odd conversation. Do we still keep eavesdropping on them? I don't see what this has to do with Lincoln's tooth. Doesn't seem like it has anything to do with Lincoln's tooth. But we're a detective, and we can eavesdrop on them if we want before going into the movie. It looks like the chat is saying that we're going to keep eavesdropping on them. That naughty chat, butting in on other people's business the way they do.
When puberty comes to swallow my youth and squirt hair on my body, I'm gonna show my mustache to Joe DiMaggio, and then I'm gonna kill Joe DiMaggio,
says the boy. Okay, says his mother. Well, they seem like they're just talking about Joe DiMaggio. I mean, I'm sure he was a big star at the time, but what does he have to do with Lincoln's tooth? Chat, are we going to keep eavesdropping on the family, or are we going to stop? It's up to you. We can keep eavesdropping on them as long as you want, regardless of whether it has anything to do with the case. Just seems it has to do with Joe DiMaggio and this boy's mustache. No, we can't do anything with pizza, but we can do something with eavesdropping on this family.
Hey,
says the little boy, pointing at you.
That man is eavesdropping on us.
Chat, we were spotted. Chat, did you think that we could just keep eavesdropping all night and they would not notice? I mean, we're obviously a private detective. We're wearing a trench coat. We're wearing a fedora. Obviously, we were eavesdropping, and they noticed. So what now, chat? What do we do? Do we deny it? Do we say that we were not eavesdropping? Or do we fess up? Do we say that we are and just confess to the whole thing? Is honesty the best policy here, chat? It's up to you. It looks like the chat is saying yes, honesty is indeed the best policy. That's right. I'm eavesdropping on you, and I heard the whole thing. I heard about the mustache. I heard about Joe DiMaggio. I heard about puberty. I confess.
Oh, well, I wish you would stop. I was talking very loudly about my puberty plans and how Joe DiMaggio factors into them. That's personal information. You should not eavesdrop on people when they're talking about their plans for puberty.
Chat, do we agree? Do we think that sounds fair and we won't do that? Or do we say, we already know about that, and we did it anyway? We did it anyway. How would Sam Stonemarrow respond to this? It looks like the chat is saying, well, the chat doesn't know what it's saying. It's pretty split right now, is what the chat is saying. Still very even. Could go either way. Though the pie chart has stopped moving. So it looks like number 2 is probably going to take it. It looks like we are going to say that we already knew that we shouldn't do that. But we're doing it anyway, because we're a private detective. Come on.
Oh, okay. Well then, I guess we both know about my puberty plans. Anyway, goodbye.
Goodbye. The family walks by you, then they are gone. Suddenly, an alarm begins blaring. A firefighter walks into the lobby and starts picking people up one at a time and carrying them into the theater. The firefighter gently places each customer into a seat, then returns to the lobby to get the next customer. This means that the movie is about to begin. Chat, do we let the firefighter carry us into the theater so we can watch the movie? Or do we skip the movie and confront Julius Tube? Man, I wish I had a theater by me that had a service like that. Like the firefighters, like they pick you up and they bring you into the theater. That's luxurious, is what that is. Looks like the chat is saying that we are going to see this movie. The firefighter lifts you up, carries you into the theater, and places you in one of the seats. As you settle in to watch the movie, you see Julius Tube himself sitting in the front row wearing 3D glasses, even though this isn't a 3D movie. You better keep an eye on him so you can confront him after the movie. The audience grows silent as the lights go down. The movie is about to begin. So, I'm pretty sure the chat is going to say we want to keep watching the movie. Enter Gordon Hogg. He looks into the camera and speaks.
Here I am, Gordon Hogg, the eldest of the 3 Hogg brothers. I love my brothers too much. In fact, the only things I like are looking at my brothers through a telescope and hugging my brothers in a way that makes people want to call the police.
Again, I'm pretty sure that the chat is very enthralled with the movie.
I was just now driving down the highway at top speed in my race car. I was on my way to Brother Canyon to watch my brothers do gymnastics to each other, but on the way, a disaster decided to marry me. The disaster was this. I plowed my race car right into a benevolent king who was trying to walk across the highway.
It's a shame. Let's keep listening to what the story portends for us.
Alas, the force of my race car plowing into the benevolent king turned the king's skeleton into a special type of pretzel that was challenging to understand. I said to the benevolent king, "Your Majesty, please do not yell at my race car, even though it turned your skeleton into a kaleidoscope." And the benevolent king said, "I am too benevolent to be angry. I love you. I am going to make your groin the Duke of Stray Dogs." And the benevolent king sneezed on my groin to make my groin an aristocrat. And I said, "Thank you, Your Majesty." And then I got out of my car and walked away. I think the benevolent king is still lying on the ground.
What else could possibly happen in this movie?
But hark! I hear the noise of a man's shoe doing a closeness in my direction. From the noise of the foot, I can tell that it is my middle brother, Prentice Hogg.
Let's see what Prentice has to say.
Hello, my brother, Gordon Hogg. I love you too much. Hello, Prentice Hogg, my brother. I was just thinking about looking at you through a telescope while you did R-rated push-ups on a distant mountain peak. I love you too much. I find God to be terrible. How are you today? The incurable disease known as brother fever has poisoned my blood, and at any second it will kill me. I wish a gorilla would crumple God up into a ball and slam dunk him through a basketball hoop for 2 points. Beyond that, I've just come from the highway, where a terrible new disaster decided to make me its wife. The disaster was this. I was driving my race car at top velocity down the highway when I saw a benevolent king lying mangled on the pavement. The benevolent king stood up and said, "I survived getting run over by Gordon Hogg. It is a miracle." And at that moment, I plowed into him with my race car and turned his skeleton into the type of knot that Boy Scouts win trophies for. I screamed with horror to hear of it. Was the benevolent king furious about his skeleton? Did he yell at your race car?
I guess we have to keep watching the movie. The benevolent king did not yell at my race car. He was too benevolent to be angry. Instead, he made my groin the Duke of Hyenas and Vultures, and he sneezed on my groin to make my groin into an aristocrat. If there isn't a hyena or vulture anywhere around, my groin is the one who is in charge of it. Maybe my groin will command all of the hyenas and vultures in the kingdom to eat each other, and then have sex with each other at the same time. Now I understand the shape of the disaster you had on the highway. God is the kind of warthog I love to throw my laundry at. I have invented a special kind of hamburger called brother salad, which is when you mix spider webs and marinara sauce together in a bowl and feed it to your brother while he is doing R-rated push-ups. Prentice Hog, my brother, I love to dream about thinking about your special new type of hamburger. I crave your private hamburger now more than ever. My groin is the master of stray dogs by decree of the king. I wish a master hibachi chef would slice God into 6 pieces and flip them one by one into my landlord's mouth to the delight of everyone in the restaurant. I guess we have to keep watching the movie at this point. What could possibly happen next? Hark! I hear the sounds of a man's legs doing a walk. From the sound of the shoe noise, I can realize it is our youngest brother, Whipplehog.
Hello, my 2 brothers. I love you too much. God is the type of nasty vegetable that I love to put inside a volcano.
Hello, Whipplehog. You are my brother, and Gordon Hogg is my brother. I have a PhD in looking at you through a telescope. How are you doing today, Whipplehog, my brother?
I am afraid that I have become a disaster's bride. I was driving down the highway in my race car at the biggest miles per hour possible when I saw a benevolent king lying in the road. The benevolent king stood up and said, I have survived being run over by Gordon Hogg and Prentice Hogg. I am the luckiest king alive. And that is when I plowed into him with my race car and caused his skeleton to reorganize itself in the type of way that would make a doctor quit his job.
Did the benevolent king yell at your race car? Obviously, we have to keep watching.
No, the king was too benevolent to yell at my race car. Instead, he sneezed on my groin to make it an aristocrat. My groin is now the Duke of Frogs. I love that my groin can boss the frogs around.
Congratulations, Whipplehog, my brother. If my landlord does not eat God in the next 10 minutes, I am going to become a terrorist. What happened to the benevolent king?
I picked up the benevolent king and threw him as far as I could in the direction of the nearest hospital. But he only went a few feet, and then he landed. A group of scorpions teamed up to eat all of his meat.
I assume we must be reaching the climax of the movie. And so, we Tree Hog brothers have all run over a benevolent king. Our groins have become aristocrats, and they command the vermin of this kingdom. We hope our groins rule over the dirty animals of the earth with wisdom and kindness. And then we hope our groins to become lunatics who command the dirty animals to go to the bathroom all over the place. Now, we will go to Brother Canyon to do R-rated push-ups and eat the secret hamburger called Brother Salad. We hope God the Monster gets chased off of a cliff by a professional hockey team. We love each other too much, and we are going to do gymnastics to each other for 100 years. Amen. Well, it seems like this is the end of the movie, but is there more? Of course. The Hogg brothers run over a benevolent king has come to an end. Everyone in the theater is on their feet, giving the film a much-deserved standing ovation. It is quite simply the greatest film ever made. Out of the corner of your eye, you see Julius Tube get out of his seat and leave the theater. Looks like we're following him to his office. He seems pleasant. You slip out of the theater and sneak behind Julius Tube as he walks back to his office. You accidentally follow him a little too quickly, and you end up getting to his office before he does, which is a little embarrassing. You'll have to wait until he gets here. A man sitting at a typewriter looks up at you. The man sitting at the typewriter.
Hello,
Says the man.
I'm Mr. Tube's personal assistant. My name is Juan Problemo.
Chat. We have a choice on how do we respond to Mr. Problemo. Do we be pleasant? Say nice to meet you? Or do we ask him if he has any relation to Oscar Problemo? Looks like the chat is saying we're going to ask him about his relations. It appears to be what the case is.
No,
Okay. Mind if I wait until your boss gets in, Mr. Problemo?
they're my guest.
Says Juan Problemo. He goes back to typing. Chat. We can silently wait for Julius Tube, or we could set off a few fireworks while we wait for Julius Tube. The choice is yours, chat, as it is always your choice. So far, it does seem that the chat wants to set off fireworks, and that does seem like a very Sam Stonemarrow thing to do. So by unanimous vote, we are going to set off a few fireworks. Oh, in the maple leaf. You set off a few fireworks to pass the time. The fireworks explode into the shape of the Canadian flag, which causes the U.S. military to send several dozen fighter jets to go shoot it with missiles. Yeah, I mean, I guess that would happen. So we keep waiting. Oh, is this the man himself? After several hours, Julius Tube arrives. He looks at you with cold eyes. How would a man with cold eyes speak? How would a man with cold eyes speak? I think I've run out of voices here. I think I have run out. Do I have anything else in just clanking around in the back that I could do for more than just a few seconds? Oh man. kind of coming to drawing a blank here. Let's see.
Well, it seems I have an uninvited guest,
Says Julius Tube in a stony, joyless voice.
I'm afraid I don't have much patience for uninvited guests. Why don't you get out of here, pal?
Chat. Once again, two choices. How do we respond to Julius Tube and his stony and joyless voice? I mean, we have to bring up the tooth. It's what we're here for. I have no idea why we think that this guy... Yeah, that's right. Big something mentioned that he might have the tooth. That's right, I forgot about that. Alright, it looks like we're going to go with number 2. My name's Sam Stonemarrow, Mr. Tube. I'm here to retrieve a stolen dental artifact that once occupied the mouth of Abraham Lincoln. Julius Tube begins to laugh. His laugh is like a pornographic movie directed by a monkey, loud and unenjoyable, but presumably interesting to scientists.
You have a lot of nerve coming in here and making demands like that, detective,
He says to you.
Get out of my office before I make you sorry.
Chat. Two choices. We can continue talking to Mr. Tube, or we can reach into our gun pouch and pull out our revolver. It seems extreme, but sometimes extreme measures are needed. Looks like the chat is saying we should go with number 1, keep it civil for right now. Keep our gun in our gun pouch, unless we actually need it. And what if I don't want? And what if I don't want to leave, Mr. Tube? What if I want to stick around until you give me that tooth? Uh-oh.
Well, in that case, I might know a few people who can persuade you to see things my way,
says Julius Tube. He snaps his fingers, and 3 stern-looking men enter the office.
Allow me to introduce the Murder Twins,
says Julius Tube, pointing at the 3 men.
Their names are Assassin 1, Assassin 2, and Assassin 2A. They're the product of a secret government experiment by the CIA to produce a race of ruthless super soldiers capable of killing a squirrel that got loose in the Pentagon during World War II. They've been bred to kill, and killing is the only thing they like.
The Murder Twins crack their knuckles, and start walking toward you. The look in their eyes is not a kind one. Chat. 2 choices. Do we ask them to stuff our eyeballs into our stomach, or do we ask them to let us smoke one last cigarette? What does Sam Stonemarrow have up his sleeve this time? How can he possibly get out of this? How can he possibly escape from Assassin 1, Assassin 2, and Assassin 2A? They're the best of the best. Looks like the chat is saying that we're going to go with number 2. Now let's be civil about this, fellas. Before you kill me, will you let me smoke one last cigarette? Okay, but make it fast, says Assassin 1. Yeah, Assassin 2A needs to go to the bathroom, says Assassin 2. I didn't know they were robots, but that might explain some things. Chat, another choice to be made. Do we reach into our pocket, light up a cigarette? Or do we ask, how did Assassin 2 know that his brother, Assassin 2A, needed to go to the bathroom? It's an intriguing question, isn't it now? The chat is saying that we're going to go with number 2. Well, we're not going with number 2, but the assassin who needs to go to the bathroom might, but we are choosing the second option. How do you know that your brother has to go to the bathroom? One of the downsides of genetic experiments that created us is that we don't know when we have to go to the bathroom, but we know when our brothers have to go to the bathroom, so we all have to tell each other when we have to go to the bathroom, explains Assassin 2A. The robot voice is a bit more appropriate than I thought it would be, but now I guess we're out of things we can say, out of sweet talk, so now we have to nod and light up our cigarette. With hands steady enough to perform pig surgery, you reach into your pocket, pull out a cigarette, and set it on fire. The sweet plumes of fumes make your brain larger and allow you to think better. All of a sudden, you have a plan. I forgot that cigarettes make our brain larger and allow us to think better. I did forget that they do that. Hey fellas, you might be able to kill me faster if there were more than just 3 of you. He's right, says Assassin 2A. We need to kill him as quickly as possible. You both have to go to the bathroom. Thank you for telling me that, says Assassin 1. Maybe Juan Problemo could help you kill me. Good idea, says Assassin 2. Hey, Juan Problemo. Says Juan Problemo without looking up from his typewriter. Will you help us kill this detective? Chat. Once again, 2 choices. We could hold our breath and watch what happens, or we could yawn and watch what happens. Either way, we're gonna watch what happens. It does look like the chat is saying that they're going to go with number 2. We're going to yawn, showing our indifference, that we don't care what's going to happen next. And we're going to see what happens.
Huge mistake, motherfuckers,
says Juan Problemo. He stands up and sends the typewriter crashing to the ground. He throws off his assistant's hat and puts on his detective's hat. And suddenly you realize who he really is. Oh shit, yells Assassin 1. Juan Problemo was actually John Problem, the detective who kills people who ask him for help. Sayonara, you needy idiots, says John Problem. He pulls out his enormous gun and shoots all 3 of the murder twins right in their bread baskets. My bread basket, screams Assassin 2A as he clutches his bread basket and dies. I hate you, John Problem, screams Assassin 2 as the contents of his bread basket spill out all over the floor. He dies with fury in his eyes. All 3 of the murder twins die from getting shot in the bread basket. I like that actually had some kind of resolution. Like, you go back to the whole John Problem thing in the end. Chat, we have another choice to make. 1 or 2. How do we express our thanks to John Problem? It looks like the chat is saying maybe number 2. So we're probably going to go with number 2. John Problem, I've got to be the first person in the history of the world who's ever been happy to see you and your shit-ass business model. I do what I can, says John Problem. Chat, we have a choice. Be careful. Think about who you're talking to. How do we respond to John Problem? What do we say to him? Chat, what do we say to John Problem? It looks like that the chat is saying that we are going to go with number 1. Good. We are going to go with number 1. We're going to tell John Problem goodbye. Goodbye, says John Problem. He leaves the office.
I don't understand,
says Julius Tube.
How did you know that Juan Problemo was actually John Problem?
Chat, how did we know that Juan Problemo was actually John Problem? I'm not sure how we knew that ourselves, but I guess you can decide how we knew. Looks like number 1 is winning so far. Yeah, I think number 1 is probably going to take it. It's actually quite simple. I realized that Juan Problemo was Spanish for Jean Probleme, which is French for John Problem.
Well, that's impressive detective work. But either way, I'm afraid you're too late,
says Julius Tube.
We have big plans for that tooth, and they are already underway. We've found a wealthy buyer who collects things that have been in Abraham Lincoln's mouth, and this tooth is going to become one of his prized items. He's willing to pay a king's ransom for it. We're going to sell it to him tomorrow, and there's nothing you can do about it.
What do you mean, we? The gunshot rings out before Julius Tube has a chance to answer you. The bullet lodges itself right in his essential lemon. It's a fatal wound.
I've been betrayed,
says Julius Tube. It doesn't take him long to fall, and when he hits the ground, he hits it forever. Somehow you know who you'll find standing behind you holding the pistol, but why not be scientific about it? Why not turn around and prove it for sure? Chat, How does Sam Stonemarrow turn around? Yes, right in the essential lemon. You can't survive after being shot there. It looks like this is probably going to be unanimous, except for pizza. But pizza doesn't count. Not right now. It usually does, but right now, we have other things on our mind except pizza. Well, I mean, pizza that's been in Abraham Lincoln's mouth, we might be thinking of. But right now, we're only thinking about turning around, looking behind us by bending over and looking through our legs. Gasp.
Hey there, Sam,
says Eileen Osiris. She gives you a kind-looking smile as she points her gun right at your essential lemon. Chat, looks like our essential lemon is in danger now. How do we respond to Eileen Osiris? This is a problem, but not John problem. He could probably help us out right now, except if we asked him for help. Thus is the paradox of John problem. And it looks like number 2 is going to win. So we are going to respond to Eileen Osiris with, oh, well, this is absolutely a fine shake of the whippet. This is the finest shake of the whippet I've ever seen.
Are you surprised to see me?
Well, chat, we have 3 things that we could say. We could either give a simple yes, a simple no, or we could give a more in-depth response. Which one are we going to go with, do you think? Yeah, I figured it was going to be number 3. Yes, but that's not saying much. I'm always surprised by everything, even things I already know. Every morning I read the encyclopedia entry for bugs, and I scream with shock and horror every time.
Well, let me explain a few things.
No need to explain. I know the whole story. You're the mysterious co-owner of the Grand Matador Theater, and you conspired with Julius to steal the tooth from the Smithsonian. And then you killed him to keep all the profits for yourself. You sent me to look for the tooth, so you have someone close by to pin the murder on.
You're close, Sam, but you don't know the whole story. Yes, I co-own the theater, and yes, I conspired with Julius to steal the tooth, but I never intended to sell it. I had for more ambitious plans.
Chat. 3 choices. There are a couple things we can say, and then one which is just an action we can take. Just stare at her. Which one are we going to go with? Looks like chat wants to go with number 3. Of course, we can never forget Dusty Washcloth, even if the world might forget Dusty Washcloth. Sam Stonemarrow could never forget. Ever. He was only 12 years old. And you killed Dusty Washcloth too. How could you do that to sweet Dusty Washcloth?
Yes, I'm afraid I did,
said Eileen Osiris.
I never meant for poor Dusty to get caught up in all this. But when the tooth went missing, he said that he was bound by the security guard's code of honor to start running around screaming and asking everyone he saw if they were a detective. I had to kill him. I couldn't let him jeopardize my plan.
And what exactly is your plan, Eileen?
Do you know what Ford's Theater is?
Asks Eileen. Chat. Do we know what Ford's Theater is? How do we respond? 2 choices. It does look like number 2 is probably going to win that. Everyone knows it's a theater where John Wilkes Booth shot Abraham Lincoln in the head in an attempt to make it onto America's Funniest Home Videos.
Exactly,
says Eileen Osiris.
everyone knows about Ford's Theater. It was just a normal, forgettable theater until Abraham Lincoln got assassinated there, and suddenly it became a world-famous tourist attraction. People have been coming from all over the world to see it for over 100 years.
What's your point, Eileen?
My point, Sam, is that with Abraham Lincoln's tooth, I have his genetic material, so I can clone him. When Lincoln was assassinated once in Ford's Theater, it became a cash cow. But I'm going to use this tooth to clone Abraham Lincoln over and over again and assassinate him right here in my movie theater every single day. Sometimes I'll assassinate him several times during a single movie. I'll fill an entire room with 200 screaming Abraham Lincolns and then blow up the whole room with dynamite. Think of how famous my theater will be as the historic site of thousands of daily Lincoln assassinations. Julius wanted to sell the tooth for a single lump sum, but with my plan, I'll be profiting for the rest of my life.
Wow, that's a hell of a plan. I never saw that coming. Just as much as I never saw John Problem coming. Chat, how do we respond to this? 2 choices. The only response we could make, of course, is wow. It does look like the chat is saying we are going to respond with number 2. What if the Lincoln clones fall in love with each other and start having sex with each other in the lobby, Eileen? Won't that drive away customers?
It won't drive away customers. People love romance. It's entirely natural that several thousand of the Abraham Lincoln clones will fall in love with each other. There will be dozens of Abraham Lincolns having sex with identical copies of themselves all over the theater, and I'll have to come through and kill them all with a flamethrower while they have sex with each other. But people will think it's just like Romeo and Juliet.
Damn it, you're right. But Eileen, think this through. This incredibly good idea will never work. It's too evil.
I'm sorry, Sam, but the plan is already working.
She smiles at you.
Sorry to offend your rustic sense of justice.
She walks over to a pot of soil and plants Abraham Lincoln's tooth in the earth. Chat. I can't pronounce that second option. So, I mean, you can choose whichever you want. Does look like the chat is saying that they want to go with number 2. But, I mean, like I said, a problem is that I can't actually pronounce whatever that is. I don't know if this will work, but if I can't pronounce it, let me see if I know someone who can. Can I copy and paste that? No, unfortunately, I can't seem to copy this text. Yeah, it's not actually copying. Let's see. Well, I wish I was actually able to copy and paste that text, but I cannot. Whoops. I don't know which one I picked. Maybe it was the second one. But it looks like we're continuing on anyway. Eileen is right. She's putting her evil plan into action, and you're powerless to stop it. The soil in the pot stirs, and a perfect clone of Abraham Lincoln blooms out of it.
I ate my wife in heaven,
says Abraham Lincoln.
Yes, it worked, cried Eileen Osiris. You see, Sam?
My plan worked.
Chat, how do we respond to Eileen Osiris? Her plan is actually working. Abraham Lincoln has returned. God help us all. It looks like that the chat is saying that we are, well, it's kind of even, actually. Yeah, it's still even. Number 2 is taking a lead, though. It's close enough that it could go either way. But I think probably at this point it looks like number 2 is going to take it. So, we're going to go with number 2. Yeah, Eileen. It worked. Abraham Lincoln looks at you.
When I got to heaven, I hid behind a bush for many years to wait for my wife to die. Then when my wife arrived in heaven, I jumped out from behind the bush and ate her.
Chat. We did not expect to hear this from Abraham Lincoln. Who would have ever have expected to hear this? I mean, you want to know what happens after you die, but when Abraham Lincoln comes back and tells you this, maybe you didn't want to know, after all. Maybe you didn't want to know. It looks like the chat is saying that we are going to respond with number 1, however. Maybe it is nice to know that, after all. That's nice, Mr. President.
My wife tasted like soap. After I ate her, I went up to God and said, "Bad news, God. I ate my wife." And God said, "The only rule in heaven is never bother God with your inane bullshit." And then he walked away.
I mean, okay. That seems like a pretty good rule. How do we respond? Looks like the chat is saying we're gonna go with number 1. Cool.
Well, I'd love to stay in chat, Sam, but I've got to go to the police and tell them that you've murdered Julius. I'm really sorry to have to frame you like this. Really. But, well, it's all part of the plan.
She starts to walk out of the room, but before she can leave, Abraham Lincoln grabs her by the arm. Actually, Eileen, it looks like you may have gotten more than you bargained for.
What are you doing?
Eileen yells at the Lincoln clone.
What's the meaning of this? You're under arrest,
says Abraham Lincoln. He takes a pair of handcuffs out of his pocket and puts them around Eileen's wrists. Don't you see, Eileen? You don't need to go get the police. The police are already here. You just resurrected the highest-ranking police officer in the country, the President of the United States. I'm afraid he just heard you confess to murder. This is exactly how the government works. Exactly.
I am going to take you to jail, and then you and I are going to be roommates in jail, says the Lincoln clone. I didn't commit any crimes, but I need to be in jail. I will die if I do not go to jail. Sam, any chance you could get me out of this jam? For old time's sake.
Chat. How do we respond to Eileen Osiris? Do we say nothing? Or do we mention that this is all constitutional? You can't argue against it. Looks like the chat is saying that we are going to go with number 2. I mean, the Constitution is the Constitution. You can't argue against it. Sorry, Eileen. The president is the chief of police. It's in the Constitution. There's nothing I can do. Eileen smiles sadly.
Well, I guess I'll see you around then, Sam.
Abraham Lincoln leads her out of the room to take her to jail.
John Wilkes Booth is also in heaven, and he taught me how to ride a motorcycle,
says Abraham Lincoln as he leaves. Then Abraham Lincoln and Eileen Osiris are gone, leaving you alone once again. Chat, we're going to walk back to our office, and I think we might have solved this mystery. Bird Robot, I work for the government, and this is really how it works. You don't resurrect former presidents just willy-nilly, like Eileen did. That's something you learn early on in government work. You step out of the Grand Matador Theater and into the empty night. You solve the whole case, but you still feel like you didn't figure a single goddamn thing out. You take a meandering route back towards your office to avoid the view. As you walk, you think about the old detective saying, sometimes people are nice to you just so they can clone the president and kill him 1 million times at the movies. Damn if it isn't true. We keep walking. You look up and see Big Excuse Me's counterfeit moon rising into the sky along the real McCoy. Dozens of space shuttles swarm it as astronauts pay exorbitant fees for an opportunity to visit what they think is the real moon. After a few blocks, you lose track of which one is the criminal moon and which one is real. Both are attracting astronauts, and both cast shadows across the city with their pale and heatless glow. The end. And chat, that is 6 endings, and the true ending. We found Lincoln's tooth. We discovered who murdered Mr. Washcloth. We got to the bottom of everything. We defeated Julius Tube. Yeah, paycheck. We weren't actually paid for anything, were we? Oh, Dusty Washcloth was the one who was going to pay us. He was the one who was going to pay us with Beaver Reagan. But Dusty's dead. And it turned out that the curator of the museum, Eileen, was the one who was behind it all. She was the one who was going to have to pay us. But she's in jail. So I guess we're going to have to go unpaid. No payment for Sam Stonemarrow. I guess, isn't that the way? Isn't that the way that Sam's story has to end? And you know, if, after reading this, if I didn't already give myself the screen name Super Great Friend, I surely would have named myself John Problem. So I'm a big fan of that name. But did someone ask what this is from? This is from Clickhole. That's correct. This is Clickhole. A tooth in Death's mouth, a Sam Stonemarrow mystery. You can't actually see the whole thing there. But yes. And two years ago, this man was 500 pounds. Now he is 2 men. Wow. White House in chaos. The Chilean foreign minister had to wait in the hallway for 3 hours while Reince Priebus and Steve Bannon argued about who gets to wear their one belt. Well, I mean, these are stories for another time. Right now, we went through this one story, and it was a good one. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the further adventures of Sam Stonemarrow. Bird Robot, have I seen the frog one? I have not. I have not really seen too many Click Ventures aside from the ones we've seen. But maybe we'll do some more at another time. Still, I guess there is one thing that I wanted to do. Let me just do something real fast. I wasn't able to copy and paste that text before. So what I want to do is I just typed something into Google to translate something into Russian for me. I just want to see if this will actually work. No, okay. Never mind then. I wanted to see if LP Bot was capable of saying something in Russian, like if I copied and pasted the Cyrillic text in there. No, it is not apparently. It does not seem so. No.
I am not able to read this.
No, he is not able to read it. So, I just wanted to see if that was possible. It is not. Unfortunately, LP Bot is not multilingual. Well, like I said, that's it for this story. We got to the true end, and all we can really say is wow. Wow. Wow to the latest adventure of Sam Stonemarrow and his new friend, John Problem, as they solve the mystery of Lincoln's Tooth. I guess that's it for tonight. And I guess that's it for this story. And I suppose now and again, we'll do more streams like this. Not necessarily all Click Ventures, but you know, stories that we can read, that we can make choices in, and to see what happens when we make those choices. There are a number of stories that we could read. But this was the story for tonight, and we have finished it. I hope everyone had a good time. I hope everyone had a good night. I hope everyone was enthralled by this Nor mystery. And I'll see you around for another story.